There are many problems, obviously, all around the world, and a man who knows a lot about the world and what the world is dealing with is the UN Secretary General. He joins us now, Antonio Guterres. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
Tell us what you think is the most pressing issue on the world stage. Is it North Korea?
North Korea is the most pressing in the sense that for the first time since the end of the Cold War, there is a nuclear threat. We forgot the nuclear threat for decades. No, I mean, it was very present in the Cold War. Remember the Cuba Missile Crisis and many other moments in which there was a possibility of a nuclear threat. And we forgot about it. We thought, well, this is finished. And now, for the first time, we feel that there is a nuclear threat. And because of that, it is clearly the most dramatic crisis we face.
We've seen a couple of unanimous UN Security Council resolutions that obviously are pinpointing certain elements of North Korea. Do you think the world is speaking in one voice with this threat, including China and Russia, for example?
I think the world has spoken with one voice from the point of view of the Security Council resolutions, but I think that the interpretation each country gives to the same sentences is not necessarily the same. It's a very serious problem. The world must be united in making clear to North Korea that the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula is absolutely essential, and it must be achieved.
What is your take of the Trump administration call for reform at the UN and the president's words when he was up at the UN General Assembly?
Well, the reform of the United Nations has been my objective since the first day. I was in UNHCR for 10 years, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and I'm quite proud that when I arrived, for instance, headquarters costs were 14% of our total costs. When I left, it was 6%. We were able to deliver much more to the people in need all over the world. I want the whole UN to be able to do the same, and so my main objective when coming to New York was the reform of the United Nations. And I believe that what the world needs today is a strong and effective United Nations and a strong and effective United States, and the two being able to work together for problems like the ones that we mentioned in North Korea, but also the situation in Myanmar or Syria or Libya or Iranian nuclear question, for all those problems to be able to be solved. And we need to make sure that we put people before bureaucracies, that we put delivery before processes. And in an organization like the UN, where you have 193 countries, there is a tendency always for the bureaucracy to grow. And we need to make sure that we are able, first, to simplify, to decentralize, to make the organization more nimble, and especially to be able to respond to the aspirations and to the concerns of the people.
We cover a lot of world news on Special Report. We have covered briefly the situation in Myanmar or Burma. Your take on this, what appears to be a massive ethnic cleansing of Muslims, the Rohingya?
Yes, I have to say that I've been going to Myanmar since I was High Commissioner for Refugees. And I've never seen in the world a community so discriminated as the Rohingya community in Myanmar or Burma. You have the overwhelming majority of villages burned to the ground. You have people that really were kicked out to flee. And we had a whole group, now almost 600,000 people, that had to move to Bangladesh to protect their lives. Now, this is a tragedy that is absolutely unacceptable. We have asked for military operations to stop. Apparently they have stopped, but still we have vigilantes burning villages, according to the information we have. And I must tell you, this is a risk that goes beyond Myanmar, because this population has been dramatically discriminated. This population has suffered enormously. And this is a Muslim population. So it's so easy for Daesh, it's so easy for Al-Qaeda to go and say, look the way you are treated. Why don't you join us? To revenge your community. So when treating Muslim communities the way they are being treated in Myanmar, you are creating the conditions to prosper for the prosperity of organizations, terrorist organizations like Daesh or Al-Qaeda. And so this is, I would say, for the international community as a whole, not only to protect the Rohingyas, but to protect itself.
I have to say the United Nations has tremendous potential. It hasn't been used over the years nearly as it should be.
Finally, what is your message to President Trump? today?
My main message is the following. We live in a messy world. We see a multiplication of conflicts everywhere, conflicts more and more interrelated, more related to problems of global security. This new form of global terrorism. Terrorism is no longer something isolated here and there. It's a network everywhere using the internet, and some with lone wolves that appear anywhere, not even being predictable. And in this world, I believe the engagement of the United States is essential. I understand when a president says America first. When I was Prime Minister of Portugal, I always put Portugal first. But the best way to protect American interests, in my opinion, is to engage in international relations very actively. Not to be the policeman of the world. I think those times have gone. Now the world is different, it's more multipolar, you have more actors, but we cannot afford not to have a strongly engaged United States with its values of freedom, of democracy, of human rights, active in addressing, together with us and together with other actors, the dramatic problems of our time.
Mr. Secretary General, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.